What is up, warriors? So today we got some tips and tricks on what equipment you should be putting on your characters. Now it's going to highly depend on the creatures that you're facing, whether you're doing exploration mode, whether you're doing challenges. Now just because you might have a legendary or an epic piece of equipment, it doesn't necessarily mean that it is better than a common or rare, right? So that's one big thing that I think a lot of people misjudge, and they think, oh my god, they got like this epic, so they immediately equip their epic and think that it's immediately better than, you know, the common that they have, when in fact, if you have a very, very high level common or rare, it can actually be a more powerful, you know, legendary, like a low level legendary, or even like a low level epic. So that's one thing you need to keep in mind. All right, so let's say that you are facing a bunch of monsters that are melee heavy, and your lineup consists of a lot of backline, you know, a lot of ranged characters. So what you're going to want to do is try and equip gear that gives you the push effect. So the push effect actually pushes them back, like away from your team, and actually push them up, like back a couple rows depending on what it is. Another good one is to choose gear that actually targets the entire zone. So you want like AoE attacks, right? AoE is area of effect, or, you know, attack on everything. So you want to make sure that you have, you know, equipment, maybe your certain weapons that'll attack like the entire line, the entire row, instead of just single target damage, because that'll help a lot too. Another tough one is if you're ever facing enemies that use taunt or stealth. One of the big ways to combat, like, you know, to get around the taunt ability or the stealth ability, is to choose gear that targets enemies at random, or, you know, targets zones instead of individual creatures. One of the big things that I like to equip is right here is this Guardian of Faith, and basically it has a 50% chance that when I move, it'll actually perform a random melee attack. So you want equipment like that, random melee attacks, you know, any random attacks are good. Attacks on whole lines will stop the taunt or stealth, you know, because like the taunt makes you attack that one character, the stealth makes it so that you really can't attack that character, you have to attack the other characters. But the way to get around that, like I said, is if you have a whole area, like if you can attack the whole line, then it will ignore the stealth and it will ignore the taunt, and you can actually do damage to the other like monsters or whatever that's in that same line. So that's really good too. When you are facing sturdy creatures with high stats, they can be really hard to take down, right? Because their health pool is so high. But one of the ways to deal with that is choose gear that lets you, you know, attack multiple times. So a good example for this is on the rogue. I have this epic weapon equipped. It lets me attack three melee attacks on the same target, which is really, really good, right? So this is so powerful. And then the legendary one even lets you attack 4 times. So you definitely want to have like this kind of equipment, something that, you know, you can get multiple attacks off on one character, because it's really gonna like beat down their HP and help so much. It's probably one of my favorite characters is the rogue, and I love the epic weapon he has. It's so good. Another thing that you want to also look out for is you can also choose gear that gives your heroes a boost to attack or damage, you know, because it's going to let you pump out more damage in that single attack. You know, if you don't have multiple strikes, that's another way, you know, because not everybody will have, you know, an epic or legendary, you know what I mean? Another one is choose gear that gives your heroes a better chance to score critical hits. So critical hits are huge. I mean, critical hits can basically change the tide of the battle, and, you know, you can instantly one-shot some of the monsters. So critical hit damage, like critical hit chance, is so huge. If you can increase your chance, it'll help so much. Another one is to choose gear that gives creatures penalties to their stats, break down their armor. What else? The injure effect. So what the injure effect does is it's an actual like damage over time. So as the rounds go on, the creature will keep taking damage if, you know, they got injured, if they have the injure effect on them. Another one is disarm or stun. So you can disarm so that they can't really attack, which will help you buy some time to regroup and figure out a strategy. Stun is really good. That'll stop them from really doing anything. Now, one of the biggest things that I personally hate is the ranged monsters, right? I hate the ranged monsters that sit in the back and they just sit there and snipe you, and you got to get up close. They're always a struggle to try and deal with the ranged monsters who got like two zones of range that they can hit you from. So a way to help you like deal with those is equipped gear with the pull effect. Right here is the I'll show you the pull effect. So this will actually pull them closer to you so that your melee characters, can get in and do damage, right? Because if you have a very heavy melee lineup, or maybe you have ranged characters that don't have, 2 zones range, but you're facing enemies that do, the pull effect is huge. It lets you bring them in, and it does damage too. So it's really good ability to have. Another way to deal with those pesky backline people is to equip gear that lets you move an extra turn, right? So right here on my fighter character, my tank, I have epic boots equipped, and what it does is it has a 75% chance to gain an extra action. So I can actually move up once, and if I trigger that special ability, I'll actually gain another action, so I can move up again. So that's huge. And another thing you can also do is you want to, if you don't have the extra move, you don't have the pull effect, another thing you can do is equipped weapons, that this is the legendary one. I'll show you off right here. The legendary has 3 zones of range. So equip gear that lets you, attack further away. So this has got 3 zones. Of course, it is legendary. Not everyone's going to have access to legendary. But even so, you might have 2 different ones I could choose from. So if I pick this one, this has only got a range of 1 zone, but it has an, attack on everything. It attacks a whole row. But maybe I'm facing the characters that are, further away. So what I'll do is I'll switch to this gear right here. This has got 2 zones of attack, and this is a ranged attack. So that's one thing you can do is switch your gear, right? You don't always have to just use this gear, Just because this gear is, a few stats higher, it doesn't necessarily mean, it's going to be better. Because if you're facing certain creatures who are far away, I want the range, you know what I mean? So that's a big thing you got to take into consideration. And finally, another way to deal with the ranged monsters is to have gear that is going to buff your troops. And, stuff like increase your armor, taunt ability, regeneration, stuff like that. Let me show you this epic gear that I have equipped to my tank right now. It's so good right here. Let me show you. Not only do I get the taunt ability, but I also get the regenerate ability. So if you can get like a piece of gear that has 2 really good effects like this, like that'll help so much with dealing with the ranged monsters, because not only is it going to make them all attack my tank, but he's also going to regenerate the health over time. So it's a huge one. So make sure you guys can check that out. Try and pick the gear that has multiple effects instead of just one. So that's a real good one. This one's good too. Gain taunt plus armor. So that's another one. Maybe I want to increase my armor. So this one's gain taunt and heal. The legendary one is the best one. Gain taunt and counter attack. Counter attacks are huge. You always want to make sure if you have the counter attack is one of the greatest abilities, because it ensures that you're still putting out damage when it's not even your turn. So when your opponent's attacking you, you'll be still, retaliating and putting damage in. So that's another really good one to make sure you guys have that, equipped. And last but not least, before I leave you guys, I just want to show you some awesome events we got going on this week. We have 2 times gear challenge, Tuesday, Wednesday. Wednesday night, we have a VIP only moment of glory. It's going to start at 8 p.m. Eastern for VIPs only. Then Thursday, we got 2 times gem challenge. And then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, get your dice ready, because this whole weekend we got 2 times coin challenge. So we got some awesome events to look forward to. Make sure you guys pistol whip that like button if you enjoyed this video and you got any tips and tricks from it, if you learned anything from it. And make sure you guys hit that subscribe button so you can join me on this journey. I cover Warriors of Waterdeep. I cover Final Fantasy 15 and New Empire. I cover a bunch of different mobile games. I also do mobile game reviews. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and notifications on so you don't miss any of my videos. Whether they be tips and tricks, whether they be skits to make you laugh, whether they be gameplay, whatever it is, reviews, I do it all. So I'll see y'all in my next video. Until then, I love y'all. Stay happy. Peace.
Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure